What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we are back to talk about the UFC card going down this weekend from the UFC Apex, headlined by Song Yadong versus Ricky Simone. Great fight in the main event, and Ricky Simone's first UFC main event. Excited for that fight. The card, the rest of it, not looking so good, but we'll still give you our betting opinions as always. And I'm joined by my co-host Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Awesome. Good to be back. Yeah, just doing a lot of stuff right now in the day to day. Fortunately, not going to be able to watch this fight card. But I'm told that it exists. They kept it together. They have Caio Barralho here, Brazilian Chad, event for the boy. And we'll see what comes about it. I'm excited to, as always, see Rodolfo Vieira once again. He was you know my first big payday in the betting space was because of that beautiful man, and I'm looking forward to him putting to sleep this Cody Brundage character.
Yeah, I think you told that tale once upon a time on the podcast about Vieira. Um and yeah, just kind of a sad card. Anyway, last week's card was an even sadder card though for me. Lost pretty much every bet, just a lot of things went poorly. Um I won on like the
Was
first fight or two, and then it just went all downhill from there.
that last week's card's a good showcase for like some of the variants kind of things that happen, like the Nas stoppage, Christos Yagos knocking out Rick Glenn, first guy ever to do it. Stuff like that. What was there another one? Like another kind of like weird outcome.
No.
Not sure. Not remembering all of them too much. Or but
Green
um,
green headbutt.
oh, the headbutt stuff, but it's just, kinda some events kinda go like that where, you're kinda, like, trying flipping back and forth, and it's favorite one fight, and it's underdog, favorite, underdog, knockout, some, quick win conditions, mixed in. But yeah, it was a bad card, I think, for a lot of people, and, definitely one that was hard to predict.
Yeah, a lot of underdogs won. I think six or seven underdogs, right? So
Yeah, Bruno Silva, I mean, I'll say a lot of the underdogs that catch them steam. So, like, Silva, Usman, um, yeah, so that card sucked though.
yeah, it did. Yeah, like, the
Let me
first the
be
first, like,
completely
4
honest.
fights were all, like, just so boring. Um,
Do you know what pissed me off? Um, that I had the read of Gomes so good because like it's like the guy doesn't do a lot. He just circles on the back foot. The over. I did end up playing the over and the goes distance, but that definitely should have been a bigger
yeah,
play
I
because
remember that you were confident in
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's like the way to go about it. Try to get the read of the fighter, and then look when you can match him with an opponent that's gonna give you you know, putting forth that read. But let's get into this card because there's a few fights that I'm not gonna have too many thoughts on.
Yep, I can't fault you there. First fight is in the women's bantamweight division. Haley Cohen taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. Will we finally get Jamie or Haley Cohen's long-awaited UFC debut? We'll see. Horth has been steamed to the -160 favorite. Cohen coming back at +140. I think if you were to make a bet at Pick'em, I would have sided with Horth as well. The market obviously agrees, but getting to the point where it's at now, you can't be thinking about laying this juice. I mean, it's a woman who's never fought in the UFC before, and it's not like her tape is really immaculate. I mean, she's getting dropped by some women out there, getting taken down, has some good comeback wins, seems to have a pretty good gas tank on her. And this woman is finishing fights, consistently late, second and third round, always finishing women. So it just seems like she's, resilient and finds the way to win in there. And I think she probably will do the same here. I don't have a clear idea of how it's going to do, but like, would it really surprise anybody if Haley Cohen just pins her against the fence for long periods of time and steals a terrible decision here? It wouldn't surprise me. So this isn't a fight that you can really bet on at this stage of the game. Should obviously cruise to a decision. What are you thinking? Anything at all?
Yeah, man, I wouldn't be too sure about the cruise into decision just because, like, Haley Cohen, her insides are blowing up, right? She popped her ovary in her,
That's right. Yeah.
not too long ago. Yeah, not too long ago. And I'm no, doctor, but when shit is exploding inside you, can be a good thing. So that's one. And then too, I did see Jamie. I did see her last fight kind of going like live and kind of or not live or but like I was aware that it was going on. I checked it out. Um, she did well. She kind of just like has like a good pace to her and is comfortable in all the areas, which Haley Cohen I think is not as much. But the fight, like the odds on it is just so bad. Like I was looking at it, like maybe okay, maybe we could get this girl by submission, and it's 4-1. So it's like it's not very interesting for me to do that. So it is a pass fight for overall. I think that but I think Haley Cohen maybe she could get some stuff going, but probably not. It's just a pass fight. I mean, if it goes above like 160, maybe we could get in on Haley Cohen just to take a stand against the steam. But otherwise than that, I don't want to get involved.
Yeah, just two other points real quick. The Horth hasn't fought in a year and a half, and Cohen, like you said, she got an ovarian cyst rupture. That was back in February, so she had to have been training for that fight for 6 weeks. Then that fight gets canceled. She has another fight booked. That fight gets canceled. Now she's basically probably been in training camp for like 4 months straight. So you can kind of overtrain at a point like
Yeah.
that. So
Also, one thing we didn't mention is Jamie is moving up to 135, right? This is 135 fight.
yeah, it is. I didn't even realize it.
So yeah, so her career was at 125. So Haley Cohen's a big girl too.
Yep. All right, that'll take us to a catchweight fight. Next fight, Journey Newsom versus Marcus McGee. This just put together today. Brian Kelleher is out of his fight. The odds for this one have um, McGee at plus 165, Journey Newsom minus 190. Crazy opener here. I think plus 315 for McGee. A lot of steam coming on him since then. You think the steam is correct on McGee here, Ozzy?
Yeah, I saw a few of his fights when they went on. The guy, I mean, he's very green overall, not very composed, I would say. That got him finished against the Brazilian guy he fought in LFA, and then the last two he fought was a literal punching bag. Was like Nate Diaz guy, I think, or maybe a wannabe, I don't know, but he got beat up pretty good. McGee, he has like a few skills, but I'm not sure if that'll produce a UFC win. Obviously, this is like he's going against Journey Newsom, who's not a very highly ranked or very a standout in any aspect. But he's been preparing for this fight. Obviously, the catch weight aspect is not good for him because I do think Newsom is a smaller guy for the weight class. And probably grappling would favor him. So McGee being at the weight at the higher weight, maybe that bodes well for him. But I like this fight overall to potentially go to the scorecards. Newsom is pretty tough to me, durable, keeps distance, right? Does that karate taekwondo shit. Um, but he does also land some good shots. So it's not a huge play. But I do think that I would probably rather have McGee plus money than play Journey Newsom, especially with the catch weight aspect of it.
Yeah, I just watched this guy's fights. I like this guy McGee. He kind of looks like Mickey Rourke a little bit to me. Definitely an interesting look this guy has going on. And he's like looks like he's like a professional skateboarder or some shit too. So this guy just seems cool to me, right? And I watch his fights and I think the guy is a little more composed than what Ozzy said. I actually think the guy has a good idea of pressuring opponents, of mixing up, kicks to the legs, punches to the body, punches to the head. And all of his offensive techniques looks like pretty solid to me. I think the guy's a pretty crisp striker. Doesn't look like a good grappler. Has been taken down in a lot of his fights. Never really looks to offensively wrestle himself. But I don't think that that's going to be the mo here at all for him. Here, I think if anyone is hitting takedowns in this fight, it could be Newsom, but Newsom doesn't really have a top game, and it's not like McGee is a terrible grappler. So I don't see grappling being a real path. I think this should be a striking fight. And just rewatching some of their fights recently, back to back. Journey Newson, I think the fight you really got to look at is Fernie Garcia, a guy who is a boxer who's kind of very heavy on his lead legs, and just let Journey have his ideal range in that fight. He was throwing a lot of his taekwondo kicks, and he had success darting in and out of range and being quicker than Fernie, and eventually was able to win a decision in that fight. But Fernie Garcia barely put a single ounce of pressure on him in that fight. And if you watch McGee's fights, he McGhee is always, getting guys moving backwards, pinning them against the cage and unleashing combinations there. And I think that's the difference is that Newson can look pretty and technical and land his kicks when he has his preferred range. But if Marcus is pressuring him in this small cage, I think Newson's composure, his strike arsenal, his kicks are not going to be as effective. And I think that McGee's got a good chance to just, win this battle of attrition here. This seems to me to like a pretty 50-50 type of fight. I know Newson has the full camp. I know Newson has the UFC experience, but I've liked what I've seen from McGee, and it's not like Newson has done anything remotely impressive in the UFC, right? He's been there for almost 4 years, and his wins are Domingo Pilarte and um, Fernie Garcia. So uh, I think this is a good test for McGee here. I'm excited for this fight, and I'll pick McGee to pull off the upset victory. Next fight is a bantamweight women's fight. Stephanie Egger taking on Alekseeva. Uh, Stephanie is the favorite, minus 300. Arena plus 250. So just a brief tape I did on this woman. She doesn't look like god awful in any area. Actually, on the feet, she looks kind of mean on the feet. Like she throws some pretty hard strikes, and I think that she actually might be able to be the better striker than Egger here. She has been put on bottom herself and does look very susceptible to Egger's top game, but she's also gotten on top of herself. And we've seen Stephanie Egger's fights. She goes back and forth, trade in top position with women. It's just a sloppy grappling fight, and I don't see how um, she's gonna justify minus 300 here. She didn't even justify minus 300 versus All-In Perez in that short fight, and I think that this is bound to just be a close fight everywhere. I mean, um, I just think Alexieva actually might have a better chance than these odds indicate. So I don't think it's a bad stab at all on Arena here at this plus 250 price. You have any thoughts on this low level fight here?
Yup, sign me up, Alex. Alex, what?
Alexieva? I don't
What is
know.
Alexiva? I've had a lot of luck with Alex's. Alex, so I think this Alex girl, she's got what it. I mean, they do a lot of this, same kind of things. You know what I mean?
They do,
So,
yeah.
yeah, they do a lot of the same kind of things. So, Stephanie Egger a lot of times catches these girls by surprise. Somehow in women's MMA, you're able to be caught by surprise by judo throws. I don't know how that's the
They
case.
don't know the meta.
Fucking insane. It just doesn't make any sense. You see all these girls getting judo thrown. How do you not like have some counter? I don't understand. But either way, I think this Alexandria girl, she's got what it takes. I think she's fighting at 135. Like a few of her old fights were at 125, which I actually like for some of these girls because I feel like sometimes force that kind of like weight drop, right? When in actuality, it actually doesn't really matter all that much, right? Like the girls that are like 115, these girls could do fine at 125. So I'll take the plus 250 girl, that Sambo girl that knows judo.
Yeah.
She beat a Stephanie in her last fight as
Let's
well.
not forget, I mean,
That's
Mario
a big
Bueno
deal.
Silva just armbarred Egger in a minute, that was pathetic. So, I mean, she's very susceptible to that. Uh
Judo people get submitted all the
And
time. These people have bad.
She fucked that woman up in round 1 and maybe 1 round 2 there. That was kind of a weird decision. Anyway, next fight, flyweight division, Cody Durden versus Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is the favorite, minus 136 here. Cody Durden plus 116. Your turn to start this one off. One of the
Think
better fights on the card.
think this might be the main event for the gamblers. A lot of people got the plus money tickets on Cody Durden. They swear by Cody Durden, but man, I kind of remember the Moda fight differently, dude. Because I thought that he smacked. In my head, my recollection was honestly that he like finished Moda at like the end of round two. I remembered it. And then you look back and it's like, man, this guy literally did not throw any. Like he hit him with, he was just tapping him. Like he never really intended to finish the fight. And Moto was completely spent. I'm just not sure why. Like Cody Durden talks a big game. He's like, beating people up. He's trying to get bonuses. I think I saw once or twice, but it's just really not the case. And now I saw him. But the thing is, he does consistently look to grapple, and he makes good decisions. He tries to take the fight to where he's the best, right? And that's good. Even against Makayev, right? He got kneed in the fucking chin, and then he grabbed that single leg or something like that, right? He was going for the takedown, and he got choked. Um, But I just think his cardio sometimes, like if you're actually fighting with him, right? This is my point. If you guys are fighting, I think his cardio is not that good. I think you're gonna make him make bad decisions. And once if you do make him make a bad decision, I think he's kind of a little frazzled. And Johnson, I think a lot of factors in that last fight for why it happened, why he kind of looked like that. Obviously, sometimes the guy doesn't get really started, but he's only lost really decisions. So, like, do I think Cody Durden is going to control this guy enough to win a decision? I really don't. Maybe it could happen a little bit, but I really don't. Like, Ode, Ode was able to get that fight, catch weight. He's strong as fuck at that weight class. Underrated, I think, sometimes with the grappling. So Imma just side with Charles Johnson here, at this reduced price now. But I don't wouldn't blame anybody that loves the plus money on the guy with, probably the better grappling.
Yeah, I did bet Durden here myself. That last fight from Charles just really wasn't a good look. I've heard, some sayings that he was sick for that fight. It was short notice, but I mean, this fight is fairly short notice too. I just feel like Charles is taking so many fights, and he's not really taking enough time off in between fights to like work on stuff. And I mean, this is um let me just refresh my memory. So will be his fifth UFC fight in 9 months. It'll be his fourth UFC fight in 6 months. So I mean, the guy's just fighting a lot, right? He was pretty lucky to get away with the Zumagulov win. He had an easy fight against Flick, and then he struggled pretty badly against O'Day Osborne in that last fight. And I just think that he's a very solid defensive grappler. He doesn't give up dominant positions. But we saw in the Mokaev fight is he can, give up the body lock. He can have trouble breaking that body lock. So he was able to avoid, getting flattened out on the mat or getting put in any dominant positions. But he was able to work back up to his feet, and that was really it. He was never able to really break the hands clasp of Mokaev in that fight, and he got controlled from the back for the majority of the fight. So I just think a similar thing could happen here. You got to think that the striking should favor Charles Johnson to a pretty heavy amount. I would say, like a 80-20 margin, but I don't think Durden is going to be completely helpless on the feet. And one thing I saw watching some tape for this fight is Johnson just throws a ton of front kicks, and he's kind of lazy with them. Like he almost telegraphs them a bit, and he doesn't snap the kick back as much, and he just leaves it out there. And O'Day Osborne was able to catch several of them, and I think that Cody's gonna be looking to do the same here, even if he's maybe struggling to get, takedowns, from wrestling shots. I think that he might be able to time, catching one of these kicks from Charles and get him down there. And, for a fight that I just expect to be a close decision, I'm gonna go with the wrestler who I think has the control time upside, and just really didn't like what I saw from Charles in his last fight. So, um, taking us to the next fight, which is in the heavyweight division, another highly anticipated fight here. Jake Collier versus Martin Buday. Pick 'em line here, -110 for both guys. Kind of maybe a little trending towards Collier as the favorite on some books. I know it was supposed to be my turn to start it off, but do you mind starting this one off for me, Ozzy?
Sure. Yeah, so we got the heavyweight, this beautiful heavyweight, fight between these two Caucasian men. Both guys overweight, but they're overweight in a different way. So if you look at the calculations, right, thinking about Jay Collier being at 185, right, let's say he had 10% body fat and his lean mass, whatever it is. Now, all you have to do is just think about like the amount of weight that Jake would have to have really gained to get up to 270. It's purely fat. The guy is about 40 to 45% body fat. And Martin Boudet will just clearly have about a 40 to 50-pound lean body weight advantage over Jay Collier. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. Now, secondly, Boudet's coming off that fight against Bresky, who people could hate Bresky, right? Obviously, his grappling got exposed again against Carl Williams. Carl Williams would do that to Jay Collier, just so people are aware. But anyway, he went against Lucas Bresky. Bresky pretty quick for heavyweight, right? He's pretty nimble. He's only like 235, pretty tall. He's like 6'4", 6'5", threw tons of strikes, right? He landed a fuck ton of them, obviously. But it was pretty hard for Boudet's fat ass, 280, right? Cuts down the heavyweight to track that dude down in that big cage. I think that was in San Diego as well. So it was probably some good looking chicks in the audience as well. It was distracting Boudet. And he got a late start to that fight, but somehow, some way, he still won. But now he's gonna fight Jay Collier. telling me about Jay Collier's volume, how he's gonna light Bude up, all this stuff. Dude, is he quicker than Bresky? Does he necessarily throw more volume than Brett? Honestly, I think Bresky is a easier fight for Bude than, or a harder fight, excuse me, than Jay Collier is. Because I think what's gonna happen here is Jay Collier, right? He's gonna come out strong. He comes out strong. You know, he holds it. He has his hands up. He throws good strikes. You know, good shot selection early on. But what's gonna happen is Bresky, he's not gonna be able to hurt Bresky with punches. Okay, and then Bresky's gonna start leaning on him, start hitting them in the clinch, start busting them up, start pushing them back, start keeping the center. And you saw this guy doesn't really get that tired. Like he was coming forward against Bresky all 3 rounds there. So I feel pretty good about Buddy Boudet here at Pickup Mods. I get the bigger heavyweight, the guy who, you know, he's consistently gone you know, he's looked okay, but he's been going 3 rounds. Like I don't think cardio is an issue for him. And I think he will cycle this fight into the areas that he has an advantage. And Jay Collier is just totally out of shape. Like this guy, like it was tragic seeing how he was shooting for that takedown against Barnett, and Barnett like sprawled on him, and like how Jake, like how slow and tortoise like he looked. There's no way you could bet on that guy, man. Come on, let's go, Buddy Boudet for the win.
Yeah, I mean, I've been historically pretty forgiving of Jake Collier, but I mean, if we look in his past 4 fights, he should have won all 4 of them. He got unlucky with the Philippe and Arlovsky decisions, and he completely botched that last fight, Barnett, who is probably the worst heavyweight on the roster. And you know, that's just such a litmus test of like, are you able to pass this? I mean, it should be a no brainer. And Collier dumped his load in round 1, went for the finish, completely gassed out, and he ended up failing and losing in a completely embarrassing fashion. I really feel like that moment after that fight was stopped, every gambler who, you know, bet on him, or I bet on him in that fight, should have made like a pact to themselves that no more dollars should be wagered on Jake Collier, at least until he proves himself reliable again, especially not in the very next fight after he just pulled that shit in that Barnett fight. So I am unwilling to trust Collier, and I agree with a lot of just points Ozzy said. I don't have the exact math on the body mass comparisons. I'm gonna go ahead and trust.
I could break it down if you
No, no,
want right
I just
now.
say I haven't
Okay.
verified the numbers myself,
Okay.
so I do trust you.
Okay. Okay.
I do think he's crunched them.
It's simple arithmetic. So I think most of our audience should be able to follow or you know, calculate it on their own.
Okay.
So
And yeah,
yeah.
that's true. Um,
Mhm.
but I just think it's the lean, bro. It's the cage lean from Boudet here is gonna get Collier. The small cage is big for Boudet here, and I just think that Collier. It's clear that Collier's margins are thin, right? We're coming off 2 decisions in a row that he should have won, that he didn't win because his margins are just so thin. While I'm not saying, you know, Boudet has these, you know, massive round winning margins, but the fact that he's the grappler and just more likely, I think, to like win longer stretches of this round clearly makes me side with him at Pick'em here. Um, I just think that Collier is going to need a very specific fight with minimal grappling and you know, win the striking very clearly. And I just think that that's a little too much to ask for him at this price tag as well. So uh, oh, and one more thing is Budai's, you know, knees in the clinch, like they might seem like bullshit, but I think that there's actually some thud behind those knees. And with all the fat in Collier's legs, I think that, you know, those could be really effective here. And it's just the wear and tear from the clinch could completely gas Collier out in the second half of this fight. So um enough about that one. We're already at the main card, 6 fight main card, really short card. Another pretty short notice replacement here. Josh Quinlan taking on Trey Waters was supposed to be Angelusa, but instead it's Trey Waters. The line for this one: Quinlan minus 180, Trey Waters plus 155. A lot of people are very, very urgent to bet against Josh Quinlan for some reason. I agree the guy doesn't look like great, but I don't think he's like auto fade material like some people are making him out to be. Um, to me in this fight, I'm looking at the over 1.5. I think both guys, if you look at their records, they have a lot of finishes. I think they're both kind of having a step up in competition here. This is really a glorified LFA fight. Um, and I just think that they're gonna be striking with one another, and I think there's gonna be a lot of, timid striking on the outside. Waters is so long. He kind of pumps his jab out and uses his length. I think Quinlan might be a little troubled by that length, and we might even see some wrestling from Quinlan here. And I just think they're gonna burn some clock. I just think they're probably not gonna look like they're going under 1.5 at -130. I mean, 1.5 at juiced odds, I just think that's off here. So I'll go ahead and take a bet on the plus 100 to go over 1.5, and I guess Quinlan will win.
I prefer Quinlan in this fight. Waters just didn't like how he looked on the ground against Bonfim. Anyone that gets Von choke, that's concerning. But it just looked like he looked. It's different. Like a good grappler could get Von choke. Don't get me wrong, right? You're not
I don't
immune.
think I ever got tapped with one of those.
Fair, fair. That's why I said a good grappler
Thank you.
could get
Yeah,
caught with
that's
those.
true.
Um, that's why you didn't get caught. But he just looked like a guy who should get caught with a Von choke. You know what I mean? Were you surprised when after that takedown happened? You weren't surprised when a Von choke appeared,
He
right?
just yeah,
Like,
he didn't even try to get that arm out of there.
yeah, yeah, like he looks like the kind of guy you're like, I think this is the kind of guy you would do the Von. I myself, there was a guy I was like, this guy looks like a guy I could Von choke, and I did have it, but I didn't get to finish it. But yeah, so on the feet, I kind of like what he does. He's got good timing. He turns over his shots well. He's long, like you said. I can see this guy winning some UFC fights, but he's weak. He's not strong. He weighs in under the 170-pound limit as well. And I think that the people that don't like Quinlan, I think maybe underrate a little bit of the grappling. I think that, I watch a few of his fights and there's some grappling in there. And I'm not saying it's polished, but it's not that bad. And I do think he's always lived in Las Vegas. So I think he's always been kind of like fine tuning the grappling. And I think that we'll probably see some of that here. I would expect. But I think because of the grappling advantage that I see from him, and the fact that I think he's got enough power to make Waters respect. Like Waters really didn't respect the karate or tag. I don't know what he does. Jalen Fuller, that he knocked out. He didn't really respect his hands. He'll have to respect Josh Quinlan. And I think that'll give Quinlan the opportunity to set up a lot of his other offense, and so I'll pick him to win.
Yeah, that should be a pretty entertaining fight.
So that's a solid fight. That's not bad.
Speaking of great fights, next one in the
What about
heavyweight
it?
division, we got the battle of the three names here. Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Marcus Rogerio
Yes,
de Lima, heavyweight division. And the odds for this one, Rogerio -182, Waldo Cortez +157. It's been a good run for the Dominican so far in the UFC.
amazing.
Is he going to continue that run?
Amazing run for my boy so far. This fight very near and dear to my heart. Obviously, longtime listeners know Peizal, Marcos Rodrigo. He's my birthday twin, so we share a birthday. And obviously, Waldo is my countryman. So this is I'm very conflicted on this fight here. But people are doing the work for me because they're giving the plus money. And I'm gonna lean with the Waldo Acosta side, excuse me. I do see the holes in his game. Obviously, he got leg kicked in a few of his fights. You haven't really seen his grappling. Obviously, his grappling is not good. I could tell you that for a fact. He doesn't have good grappling. But pays out sometimes, like, yeah, he'll get the takedown and stuff, but like sometimes he's a little bit slow to work to the takedown. Um, and I just feel that he's not that reliable to get some of these, dumps. But I do see merit to it because if he does get him down, this guy's a legitimate black belt in jiu-jitsu, especially on top, overall. But I do think that it might be a little difficult for him to get inside. So I'm thinking he's gonna have to chop the legs early. Waldo's gonna be, throwing the jab out. But I love Waldo, like how the arc of his punches, very different, coming at heavyweight. He's got more power than I think, even though Chase Sherman and Jared survived with him. I think he's even a bigger KO threat on the guy like Rodrigo De Lima, because De Lima, he's kind of like just a quitter, right? We know him as a quitter. If he's getting touched up to the body, right, those jabs, those piercing jabs to the body, and coming up to the head, I think that this guy could fold, at some point. So I'm gonna back my boy Waldo in this fight. I'm trying to get plus 160 on him. I think I just missed that. Was at Bet Online. So I'm gonna wait for a little bit more. I'm also gonna sprinkle that KO price because I feel if the fight goes how Waldo winning, there can't be a lot of grappling. He's gonna have to be punching this dude in the face. So let's take a little bit of that bonus price, sprinkle that KO line.
It's only 225 though. It's kind of a shit price.
You could get a
Oh yeah, I see
350,
it. Right.
325. Yeah, 320, 350. 350 is okay for a little sprinkle,
Yeah.
Martian.
I think.
Jesus, you
I
greedy
think.
bastard.
I think. Yeah, round 2, round 3 maybe for Waldo. But I mean,
That'd be nice.
decision could happen too. I mean, my read on the fight is I'm looking to bet Hojiro submission because I think that if the fight stays in the feet, it's going to inevitably be a lot closer than near 65% for Hojiro. I know Marcus could hit the leg kicks. He could maybe wobble or Cortez with a big punch. You know, Marcus does wing a pretty hard punch overhand from time to time. But if you got to think that if we see extended minutes of striking, the volume, the jabs, the straight punches of Waldo will probably make this really close, and we might even win.
No
I went back and
contest.
I
No
went
contest on the feet, man.
I went back and rewatched uh the podcast segment from his first fight, and I was maybe a little harsh on the guy. I said the guy can't punch at all. I think he's maybe learned how to throw a little bit of punches. He doesn't want.
Waldo?
Yeah, Waldo.
Oh, come on.
He still needs to learn how to put some snap behind him because he's just flicking him out there. I could probably teach him a thing or two. I just think it's just the Dominican culture is so like baseball oriented. I think he spent most of his career trying to be a pitcher, and then now he's transitioning to being an MMA fighter. Um, so, yeah, so back to my my analysis. Hojiro's sub is I think that if he's looking to take the easiest path to victory here, he will be shooting a takedown, and Waldo has looked pretty tragic on bottom. So I just think that if Delima is smart enough to take the path of least resistance, I think the sub is real good at plus 500. I think it'll come out maybe some other books at 600. And then but I also agree money line wise, Waldo's aside, Waldo 2-3 and look to live bet Waldo here as well, because Delima does tend to slow. So that's enough about that one.
Lima's in a fold, bro. The Lima's not winning that fight. He's in a fold.
Oh yeah, unless he gets takedowns, I don't think yeah, like if he doesn't get a takedown in round 1, I think he will fold because
He's in a fold.
gas tank wise, I just don't think he can go at the same pace. I mean, remember this guy went toe to toe with Ivanov, uh, over
And
15
you
minutes.
gotta think about like how his fights go, dude. You remember what he did against Ben Rothwell, dude? He just head down throwing fastballs, bro. Like that shit is not gonna work against Waldo, dude. It's not working.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
And then remember when he like 10-8'd to Stefan Struve and then round 2 started and then he was just dead?
Yeah, he's just a complete. But he does it like this is like all his against the Salsi guy, Ben, the guy that's in jail now. Same thing, dude. He just puts his head down throwing
Wings it.
fastballs, or he's got the fights like the against a Polish dude or Maurice Green where he just lays and prays.
Plays, yeah.
So he's a weird dude, man.
He is
Weird
weird.
guy. That's where we're Gemini's, dude. We got at least two personalities at minimum. I got like eight, but he's got at least two. He's got at least two or three.
Like multiple personality disorder type shit?
Bro, this come on, man.
Alright.
Obviously, you need some women in your life, Martian. Teach you about the
Well,
zodiac.
I understand astrology.
Teach you the zodiac, my friend.
Right. Alright, so, next fight's in the featherweight division. Juicy J Erosa taking on Fernando Padilla, making his UFC debut. Juicy
Fernando Padilla.
it's Padilla.
Padilla.
I don't think so. I think, we'll check that. But, bro, it's definitely Padilla.
Padilla.
I don't know, bro. I will have to test your Spanish on this one. You speak Dominican Spanish. I don't know about Mexican Spanish.
He's
Um,
not Mexican. Is he Mexican?
yeah, he is. Anyway, minus 130 for Julian Erosi here, minus plus 110 for Padilla. A lot of steam on Padilla, and I have trouble trusting Erosa. I mean, technique wise, experience wise, I think this fight points to him. I mean, Padilla is a decent offensive striker, but I mean, outside of that, what else is there to really say about the guy? And I don't think he's really proven
Hey,
much in it. What?
like anything else that he does? You don't like him?
I just don't think he's like. a threat to Julian anywhere else, you know?
He's a Mexican Julian Erosa.
Yeah, but Rosa, he's
You
not a
ever
better
you ever
grappler.
when you're when you were training Muay Thai Martian, you ever been like, all right, like if I sparred myself, like how would I do? You ever thought about that?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
So who would win? You think the like? Would you think you'd be able to defend?
What,
Like
me or
you
a
fucking
Mexican version of myself?
you were like you versus you. Like you think you could defend and like fend yourself off and like able to land some shots on
Well,
yourself
wouldn't I
or no?
know what was coming because I am the one making the moves as well? I don't know.
No, no, not really. No, because it's like they're trying to attack you. It's like
Okay,
it's trying to come at you.
we'll get back to this. We'll get back to this because I don't see the relevance. But yeah, I mean, just I can't trust Erosa, right? Like I said, that's my opinion on the fight. Is he should win. I just think that it's a risky fucking bet to do. I mean, uh, the last fight against Caceres, obviously Caceres is a much better fighter than Padilla, but everyone was thinking, oh,
What?
the one thing we don't have to worry about is Arosa's chin. Arosa, Caceres doesn't hit hard. The biggest problem with Arosa is his chin. This is a good matchup for him because Caceres doesn't hit hard. And what happened? I mean, a fucking head kick sent him into the shadow realm, and I just can't do it. I can't do it. So Arosa should win. I hope he gets it done. I'm a big fan of the guy. Hopefully, he wins the fight and sets up the super fight with Bill Algeo. And yeah, any thoughts here from you?
Yeah, man, this is a cool fight, but I'll tell you right now, man. Julian Erosa, in my opinion, not a good bet right here. Not a good bet in this style of fight because these guys are absolutely 1000% gonna go to war. Okay, there's no doubt about it. If you could bet fight at night for this fight, I think it would be a good bet. But overall, you know how they have their price in this fight. The prop, what the prop that they find most likely is a roasted by submission, and I just don't see that, because a lot of times that he is getting these submissions, they're like later on because the guy's a little bit tiring, like Charles Jourdain or
Woodson?
he yeah, the Woodson one, submission Lee. But this guy Padilla has good like very good conditioning. I feel. And he's gonna push a pace and he himself has never been submitted, but he submits people. So I would think maybe like if you wanted to try to play something like ends by submission, I don't know what that would be priced at. But I just like overall Padilla in this fight. I think that, he mixes up his strikes really well. I think that he's improved probably in this time off. He looks definitely a little bit, thicker, like more filled out nice. He's got a reach advantage here as well. And he's got a proven, pretty proven chin. I've seen this guy take shots. I think that Nate Robinson, no, not rest in peace to the GOAT, Nick's legend. Not quite, but Nick's homie, Nate
He's dead?
Robinson. Yeah, he died, dude. You didn't know that?
No, the guy from the dunk
Yeah,
contest, right?
yeah, the dude that, Jake Paul knocked out. Um, yeah, he had,
No
like,
way.
some kidney things, kidney failure, right? You looking it up? Some shit like that. Um, Kidney failure, liver, some shit. I'm not killing yeah, he's dead. No, not dead.
No, he's not dead.
He might be dead. I don't know. I thought he died. But anyway, against Nate Richardson, he took a lot of big shots. And Juicy J doesn't really hit hard, and it's Mexico season, so I got an early bet in on plus 165 on this guy. And I'm probably gonna free roll a little bit of it, but bro, I think I'm picking him to win.
Also, we gotta note that he hasn't fought in 2 years, so you gotta think, obviously, he's been getting a lot better, and, I mean, the guy was fighting, good competition. I mean, look, 6 years ago, he was fighting, yeah, Dan Ige in CFFC, and he's fought in a lot of guys, Spike Carlisle that came through the UFC, Derek Minner, so, like, the guy's been getting fighting legit opponents and getting better at MMA for a long time. Don't be surprised if this guy comes in looking a lot better than he did on tape because he took 2 years off. So young Mexican kid, promising striker against Erosa, whose chin is just always a huge question mark. I don't know. I don't like it. Erosa better be clinching early on here because um, it'll be a rough one if he gets, stuck at distance here. Anyway, middleweight division, Cody Brundage, Rodolfo Vieira. Vieira is a heavy favorite, minus 225. Cody Brundage plus 190. Your turn to start this one off here.
So Nate Robinson isn't dead, but I thought he was dead because they said that he had kidney failure. So don't blame that on me, dude. Come on, like they throw out that kidney failure word too much, dude. If the thing is failing, like anyway, which fight are we on? Brundage versus Hodolfo, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So man, that last fight for Brundage, horrible look. Like I looked first he looked shocked when he was getting hit with ground and pound. Like he looked surprised. Like when Mikau landed elbow in specific, that this dude was like, whoa, like he's allowed to do that to me, which is just a bad look. And I don't like it looking at what Factory X is doing. Like it kind of surprises me. But even like there, like Mikau is not really interested in holding him down, just very complacent to be on his back. His hips to me look not very powerful. He was able to snake behind him, do a few things. But, here he could just be like a pest, I think, to Hodolfo. I was just really impressed by Hodolfo in that last fight, being able to fight behind the jab, stay very calm. He shot how many takedowns? It was like 20 takedowns on Chris Curtis, but they didn't feel forced to me. Like, yeah, maybe like obviously they weren't set up really well, but he wasn't like panic shooting, in my opinion. And even if he has 20 takedowns, but even if he was like his cardio looked really really good in that fight. So I think that he's gonna be able to jab up or strike with Brundage, as he needs to, and eventually he's gonna take this motherfucker down and choke his ass out. This dude was having a hard time with Joseph Crockpot and William Knight fucking took his back. Like, what are we talking about? So, so, so let's go, Adolfo. The- I almost forgot.
He, like, took
William
him
Knight.
down and then, like, all of a sudden, like remember he had his back and
Yeah, I
then
remember.
William was holding his
Yo.
hands and, Brundage just couldn't do anything.
And then like 20 seconds later, William Knight was like behind him,
I've
pounding
never
him out.
seen someone gas out so quickly in fights as Brundage does. I mean, the McCall fight, he takes him down 10 seconds in. He's holding his back, he's controlling 10 seconds into the fight is going as perfect as possibly could go. And after 3 minutes of grappling, which is where Cody is supposed to be his best, the guy is dead tired. And like he falls off the back, he's just completely dead on his back,
He's
unable
just
to stand
holding
up.
his wrist, bro. He's got his guard closed, just holding the guy's wrist for the rest of the fight as the guy punches him in the head.
Yeah, and he's just done. I mean, like Cody honestly sucks. I don't like just throwing around the word sucks because it feels like lazy analysis. But like this guy actually is bad at everything in MMA.
He
So
thinks he's good. He thinks he's good.
yeah, I mean he did have two pretty miraculous wins over Gore and Lungiambula, but I think he got like I just said, he got lucky in both those wins. Um, so I think Rodolfo shouldn't have too much trouble here. I actually think if there's like a stab to be made on the fight, money line wise, I actually think that Rodolfo is probably a good bet. I'm not too interested in laying past -200 these days, but this is one of the spots where I'm actually tempted.
These days.
Yeah, I've learned a lesson once or twice. But Rodolfo KO is plus 1,000, and,
Yes.
like, the dude has a pretty powerful jab. Brundage quits really easily. They have Brundage KO at plus 400, bro. What the fuck? Like, what? I don't get that shit, bro. I really
Chris
don't.
Curtis Chris Curtis couldn't do it.
And even, like, when
Especially with all them body shots
even
Chris
when
Curtis is landing on
Hernandez
him too.
Hernandez was bombing on him when Vieira was tired, like, he was still eating punches. He was just, like, obviously extremely tired. I don't know. That's a terrible line. So this should be all Vieira. Obviously, submission has to be the most likely, but I don't mind a flyer on 1,000 for KO.
Adolfo's gonna finish this guy. This is a fight, bro, for Adolfo to finish this guy, for them to be able to push Adolfo a little
Get back
bit.
on track.
They like Adolfo. They like Adolfo.
I respect him. Yeah. How could you?
Yeah.
Um, Next fight is in the also tremendous middleweight division. Kyle Borralho versus McCall-Oleksiejczuk. The line for this one is Kyle as the massive favorite, -374, biggest favorite on the card, plus 309 for McCall-Oleksiejczuk. So I think this fight it's tricky because I think that Kyle is obviously capable of hitting takedowns, taking McCall's back, and he's probably going to do that early on here. Where I was just talking about the Brundage fight. I mean, McCall 10 seconds in gets taken down, kind of gives up his back in that fight, and you got to think the Ohio is going to do that again here. But rewatching Bohio's fights against Muradov, um, the guy has dominant positions. He has mount, he has the back take, and he just makes 2 stupid decisions. One time he was mounted, he went for a mounted triangle and lost it. One time he got too high on the back and lost it. And it just seems like he really doesn't have good finishing instincts. I mean, we've his UFC career is almost what 4 fights at this point, and he's just been like kind of backpacking guys, not really looking to finish in them. Just kinda cruising, not really impressing us too much. Um, so I don't know, I think that if McCall is able to, reverse one of those back takes or have some striking time here, he's gonna look live at 3-1 because I'm not sure Kyle is too comfortable striking. So I don't know. It's a tough fight to wrap your head around. Obviously, I'm not endorsing laying 400 on Kaio. I don't even think Kaio's sub line is good. I mean, Armin Petrosian's a lifetime kickboxer. He's not a very good grappler, and Bohio was never close to submitting him. So, you know, 40 or less than 40% for Bohio sub. Or no, it's 125. It's a little higher than 40%. That seems way too high. So I'm struggling to find a single line I like here. How about Bohio by decision plus 225? That seems good to me. That seems like the most valuable line, but I don't know. Tricky fight to really have a confident read on. You have anything here?
Hell yeah, I'm taking McCall because we know what's the saying. McCall hits these guys and they go fucking down, dude. They just do. This guy's got the legendary Polish power as well. And you know what? None of these guys that Kyle has fought really have done. Punch this motherfucker in the body. So obviously, could he get backpacked? Yeah, I mean, like if Cody Brundage is getting behind you so easily, Kyle Borralho probably is as well. Guy's pretty strong for middleweight, right? He's big. But man, there's something about McCall that I just love his style. I love getting plus money on him, right? I was on him against like Dustin Jacoby. Could he have won that fight? Yeah, the plus money. Do I regret it? Not really. I think that he could have won that fight. But I just getting plus money on this guy is just so good because his pace it doesn't really stop. Especially in those first 2 rounds. Um, and with the commitment to 185, I think his conditioning overall is just better. And Kyle has looked slow to me at times. And McCall's a guy who could rack up significant, let's just call it points or significant strikes, whatever it is, like momentum in a round very easily and very quickly with a few shots, right? He's precise, but he also does have power. And when he unloads, he lets it go and the punches land. So we're getting him like plus 309, plus 310. I think that's pretty good for this guy. He showed some commitment to grappling defense in his last fight, right, against Brundage. He did the right things, right? He was getting his hips high. He cheated a little bit, right? Grabbed the fence. You always like to see that. When you're on a guy, right? For sure. Like that, no lie. Like I would always think about that. I'm like, man, if I'm tired, shit, like you need a break. You throw a kick, hits him in the nuts. Worst things can happen, right? All
Veteran
right.
move.
So yeah, veteran move, dude. I never had to do it, but veteran move for sure. Um, yeah, so I just like Mikal here to potentially be super live in this fight.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track. I mean, if this fight stays striking for more than a minute, or Kyle loses position one time, then McCall is going to be a good bet. The only
The
way,
reason Kyle is so good is he's got that judo black belt and he knows like some of these like little trips and shit. Like when he gets into like double underhooks in the clinch. Hopefully Mikal can stay in the middle and or stay on the front foot.
yep. Um, and yeah, you mentioned I mean, he knows defensive grappling has always been his weakest aspect. He's probably been working on it steady for the past few years. Um,
And
anyway,
this is a southpaw styles or stance. So
yeah,
I don't think this guy has or none of the Kyle's other opponents are southpaw.
I want to see Kyle strike. I mean, I just feel like the guy, he has some decent striking, but I want to see him like extend it a little bit, see what he's got. All right, that's going to take us to the main event, bantamweight division. Amazing matchup here. Was supposed to be a few weeks ago for 3 rounds. Luckily, the UFC made the right call, bumping it up to 5 rounds here. Song Yadong taking on Ricky Simone in the main event. Um, Ricky's first main event, Song's second main event. Minus 125 for Ricky Simone, plus 105 for Song Yadong. Kind of two-way action coming in on here, but seems like Ricky's holding as a slight favorite. Your turn to start this one off. Give us your thoughts on the matchup.
Pretty cool fight. Watch a lot of these guys. I've watched all of their fights honestly since they've come up. Refresh definitely on a few of them. What impresses me about Ricky always is the intensity he brings. I think he surprised Jack Shore in his last fight. You could kind of see when he was landing these takedowns, Jack is kind of looking like, man, this guy is like, a little Tasmanian devil, in on my legs. And training with these guys and those little dudes that have that grappling pace is like extremely tough. But I do think that obviously his wrestling I think is good. He's tenacious. Getting into those legs. But sometimes on top, he doesn't always solidify or get obviously he's finished a lot of guys, but like you kind of see some stuff like against that Gaetano guy. Like what's going on? Like he should have finished him way earlier, in my opinion. He lets like the Ray Borg fight be a little bit close. The Brian Kelleher fight, he's kind of like just grappling with him, moving him around a little bit. And Song, I've just always been impressed by his hand speed, his placement of his punches, how he throws when the other guy's throwing, throws first, throws last. He's just well adept at striking, and then moving within the kind of danger and the strikes that his opponent's putting out there. So that's always been impressive to me. I was leaning earlier to Ricky. Kinda now thinking maybe that Song will be able to with the striking and being able to he's been working his grappling, the improvements that he's been making, maybe not be put down definitively, decisively early, right? Like, you see a lot of Ricky's takedowns, they're kinda like double legs, right? He likes getting you against the fence, and then he'll get the double leg, he'll scoop you up. Against an athlete, and someone as quick as Song, I do think it's gonna be a little bit tough to get those kinda, like, just powerful takedowns. You're picking them up, you're running them again across, right? Sometimes, like, these athletic guys can feed you a single leg instead of, you getting a double leg, especially early when he's, spry. But, I obviously, there is some tape, like, obviously, the, Corey Sandhagen fight where Corey was shooting on the takedowns and, he has terrible double legs, and he was getting somewhat close, but Song did, get away from him a little bit. But he did get pinned against the fence a bit here, there, so whatever. So I'm gonna just lean to potentially the fight going over, maybe it going the distance. I think you like that as well. Um, but, I see why people came in on the Song side. I do think that Ricky could definitely win this fight, but I see it being something where it's gonna be kinda close, or, like, I could see Song winning, like, a first round or whatever. I could just see Ricky needing, like, it being very clear in between rounds, like, whether it be round 2 and round 3 and round 4, whatever it is, that, hey, Ricky needs to win this next round, and he's gonna need to take Song down to do it, and maybe that's the time that you come in live, and back that, as opposed to you betting, laying a quarter on him pre-fight, him maybe getting off to a slow start, even though he usually gets out the gates fast. And then you're, kind of chasing that afterwards, and you're not in the best position. So that's my take on the fight.
Yeah, I have generally similar thoughts as well. I think it's a tough fight to pick a side on. I think I'm more just confident in what you were saying in the over in it going the distance, and I think the best line on that is the fight to start round 4 on FanDuel at minus 118. I just think I have this, you know, observation of when guys fight in their first, or women, honestly, fight in their first main event. They kind of are very aware that they're fighting the extra 2 rounds, and it's almost like they subconsciously fight a little less with less intensity and aggression in those first 3 rounds because they're just expecting it to go those extra 2 rounds, and they're a little um, aware of their own cardio. So I think that that's what's going to happen here is this will go into the championship rounds, and I kind of envision Song being up 2-1 going into those championship rounds for some reason. So I don't think that Ricky is a slam dunk before a pre-fight bet. I do expect him to win the fight just by having that relentless gas tank, that relentless takedown pursuit. I just think that it's possible Ricky Simone is incapable of slowing down. This guy has a fucking motor on him. We've never really seen him tired in a fight. We have seen Song tired in fights, and we have seen Song struggle with the wrestling of opponents before. I think the most notable example is the Cody Stamann fight, a fight that I think was ruled a draw, but he really should have lost that fight. Um, Kyler Phillips was also able to time a few takedowns on him. I think Casey Kenny was able to get some clinches a lot of time on him. And I just think that, Song's, weakest area has to be the defensive grappling. And we did see him stuff a lot of takedowns from Corey Sandhagen, and his takedown defense looked really good there. And I don't think the guy's a bad grappler by any stretch of the means, but I just think that the nonstop pace of Ricky and the takedown attempts will eventually start to land, and Ricky will start to have some clinch time, some back riding time, and I think that's going to favor him in what should just be a dogfight on who has the better cardio and who wants it more. At distance, I think that you got to give an advantage to Song. A pretty clear advantage as well. I don't think Ricky is going to be. Getting dominated on the feet, but I think the harder puncher of the two and just the cleaner boxer has to be Song Yadong. Song's actually got some sneaky kicks as well. Remember, he knocked out Arce with a head kick. Um, and I'm just really excited for this fight, man. I think that these exchanges are going to be great. The striking exchanges are going to be fast, high intensity. The wrestling exchanges are going to be very scrambly and high amplitude. And this is just going to be one hell of a fight. I expected to see the full 5 rounds. I expect Ricky to edge out a close decision here, but I'm just not confident enough to make a pre-fight bet on Ricky. I kind of like what Ozzy was saying, where I think there will be like a dire moment in the fight where Ricky really turns it up and starts, breaking Song with his pace. And I think that'll probably come in like the 3rd round at some point too. So, looks a live bet this one. I like the fight going into the 4th round. Just any of the overs in this fight are probably good. And one hell of a piece of matchmaking here. Props to the UFC for making it a main event. And I just can't wait for it this Saturday. So pretty calm
Who
week of fight.
who does winner get there, Martian? Who do you think winner gets?
Well, Aljo versus Sterling is happening in May. If Aljo wins, I guess whoever wins this fight is gonna fight for the belt next, right? Because Merab's not gonna
Mm,
fight them.
oh, bro, O'Malley's definitely fighting for the belt.
I don't think it's definite, bro. By the
Sure,
t
dude.
by the time he yeah, I mean, we've
There's
you
no way Song Yadong is getting a title shot, bro.
That's
What are you
true.
fucking talking about?
Well, that's true because he's only coming off of 1 win. You're right. So, but I don't know. I think if Ricky wins, he has a better claim, but obviously he just doesn't have, he doesn't have any suction.
One of these motherfuckers is gonna have to fight Umar.
You
One of them.
think?
Yes.
Well,
One of them
Ricky did an interview today where he was saying, "I already beat Merab. Let's fucking fight again over 5 rounds." It takes a
that might
crazy,
happen.
it takes a
Yeah,
crazy motherfucker to call
want
out
that fight.
Merab.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. He's
and
nuts.
if he
He's nuts.
wants that, bro, he's ready.
There you go. Good. Perfect way to end. I didn't not know that. That's the fight I want to see. Put it on Long Island, main event for Marab.
There you go. All right, everyone. Thanks to you all for listening. Hope you all enjoy the fights this weekend. Win some bets, and we will see you all before next week's UFC event, UFC 288, going down in Newark, New Jersey. Excited for that one. So see you all next week. Peace out, everyone.